Hey! So, we're going to continue another chapter of April Fools in Love, a novella by Kimberly Brown, and Amanda Marie. And this will be chapter 6. So if you haven't caught up, go back. There's a link down in the description. Go listen to all the other chapters first so you don't just come in the middle and be not like, what's going on? Why is this happening? That way you can get caught up. And without further ado, Saturday, February 22nd. So, you and Zeke were looking pretty cozy last night. Lucy's shrill voice echoed across the shop. La Bella Boutique. Esther stopped folding the clothes on the table and raised her head to see 3 of her classmates picking up the shirts she just spent half an hour arranging in neat piles. We are, since we're dating. She smiled, then went back to her task. Quaint that you're working. On a Saturday, no less. Lucy leaned over the counter and picked up a pair of jeans. Where's lover boy? He's doing chores. She gritted her teeth. She actually didn't know where Zeke was, just that he was busy. All day. She tried to have them go on another date tonight, but he turned her down. It stung, but it shouldn't matter since he didn't owe her anything. He can have his own life. But it would have been nice to go on a date again and solidify the relationship, because that's the only reason I want to spend time with him. Well, whenever he's bored with you, let him know that I'm interested. Lucy's eyes sparkled as she tossed the jeans on the floor. Have fun at work, she sneered, then left with her entourage. Esther picked up the pants before folding them neatly and placing them on the appropriate shelf. Oh, hi, Zeke. Esther jerked at Lucy's words. Ladies? Zeke nodded, then walked straight to Esther. He smiled and held out a styrofoam mug. Thought you could use a coffee since you'll be here most of the day. I'm heading out soon, but wanted to make sure everything's okay. You sounded upset on the phone earlier. Thank you. She sipped the hot beverage and peered around him. Miss Cheerleader and her squad lingered near the entrance, so Esther stood on tiptoes to kiss him on the cheek, involuntarily inhaling his perfection. He wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her against his hard chest. Meeting Lucy's glare from across the store, Esther couldn't help the smug smile that spread across her face. The gang walked out of the store, their high heels clicking their dismissal. We're good? Zeke stepped back and stared down at her. Yes, we're good. Rachel had another episode last night, and I let that affect how I reacted. I'm sorry. She missed the warmth of his embrace. She went behind the counter and continued straightening the display, avoiding his eyes. Don't apologize, Star. He leaned his arms against the counter, keeping his head level to hers. Want to talk about it? He didn't probe, just offered to be a sounding board. One of the many things Esther loved about him. Loved? No. Loved as in brotherly love. Yep, that's it. Brotherly love. Not really. They keep messing up her medicine. She's happy one day, then down in the dumps the next. She's really gone deep into depression, and it just gets worse every day. It's tough because Mom is in denial, and Dad thinks there's this magic pill that'll fix it all. Mom was able to give her a sedative, so she was asleep by the time I had come here for work. She heaved a sigh in an attempt to shake the weight of a mountain on her shoulders. His hand rested on hers. I'm here for you. He squeezed, then intertwined his fingers with hers. She released another sigh, but this time out of relief. His presence soothed her. Thank you, Zeke. You are truly the bestest friend a girl could have. She squeezed back. Hurt flashed across his face, but was too quick for her to be certain. That's what I'm here for. He stayed for a few minutes and helped her finish the display. After putting all the clothes neatly in place, he stuffed his hand in his pockets. I better go. Where are you going? Unease crept up her spine. Why am I affected by what he does with his free time? Just running some errands. He ambled to the front of the store. She followed close behind. What errands specifically? She grabbed his wrist to get him to stop. He turned towards her, confusion clearly etched in his eyes. The same commitments I've had for about a year. He gave her a brief hug, kissed the top of her head, and left. Now that's a keeper! The shop owner's voice caused Esther to jump. What? She picked up the shirt she just dropped. That young man! If I were just a few years younger. Mrs. Amadane sighed wistfully and primped her graying hair. Esther giggled. Well, what are you still doing here? Go after that fine specimen. The shopkeeper pinched Esther's arm and pushed her toward the employee exit. But what about the store? She dug her heels into the ground, but was surprised when the elderly lady shoved her so hard she wobbled toward the door. Miss Amadane? Young hotties like that don't come along every day, you know. The store's fine. It's slow today anyway. So go. She moved her hands in a shooing motion. Esther smiled and hugged her boss. Thank you. She ran to her mom's minivan and hopped in, spotting Zeke's truck turning left on the main road. She spun out and nearly hit a parked car, but entered the main road in pursuit. Stay 5 car lengths behind him. Or is it 4? Esther's sneaky following skills were limited to what she saw on television. Her hands tapped the steering wheel in staccato as she turned onto the street leading out of town. Where are you going, Zeke? Half an hour later, he pulled into the parking lot of the hospital in Prudence Prosper, the mountain town east of Fool's Paradise. What are you up to, Zeke? He entered the children's ward. Esther put on a pair of oversized sunglasses and followed. She lost him when she walked through the double doors. She glanced left, then right. The elderly gentleman behind the reception desk, tucked in the corner, beamed a bright smile. Hello. She read his name tag. Frank. I have an unusual question, she smiled. Well, unusual questions get unusual answers, so let's see what unusual things we can come up with. His eyes sparkled with mischief, and it was hard to guess his age with such a youthful demeanor. Do you know a guy named Zeke? She held her breath and prayed she wouldn't be laughed out of the hospital. Ezekiel? Of course I do. Everyone here does. He pointed a bony finger to the hallway on her left. He reads to the terminally ill children, sometimes brings them presents. Once he even dressed like a superhero and granted superpowers for the day. Frank chuckled and wiped a tear from his eyes. You want me to tell him to come here for you? Or you can just walk down the hall and find him yourself. Follow the laughter of the kids. That's where he'll be. She nodded. Thank you. She turned and speed walked to her van. Zeke volunteered at a hospital a town away? Why? He could volunteer at his dad's hospital anytime he wanted. He spends his free time helping kids? What other aspects of Zeke's life had she not noticed before? More questions burned in her mind as she watched him walk to his car an hour later. His selflessness touched her heart more than anything. To give up his time, and for a year? He left the hospital, grabbed a quick bite to eat, and drove to the local animal shelter. Esther stopped a worker on his way into the shelter and asked about Zeke. Apparently her best friend volunteered to play with the dogs, bathe and feed the animals, and even rescued the ones about to be put down. Again, why? And why is he my friend? I'm so selfish compared to him. She drove back to Fool's Paradise. This wasn't good. She already started getting warm fuzzies whenever she was near Zeke, but to see his love and compassion made her heart twinge even more. She wasn't supposed to be falling for the guy. They were supposed to pretend, but the thought of him with Lucy or any other girl left her stomach sick. Damien was losing his appeal too. She never saw Damien do anything for anyone but himself. What bubble had she lived in that she hadn't recognized Zeke's tenderness? The Rachel bubble. The escape bubble. The wanting to be popular bubble. The everything is about Esther bubble. But that bubble burst. At a red light, she leaned her head back and groaned. She was falling hard for Zeke. She was falling in love. Oh, no, 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 no! Her head fell against the steering wheel with each refute. A car honked, letting her know the light changed. She turned onto the main road leading back to home. Her mind whirled with thoughts of Zeke, their scheme, her feelings, and their relationship. Her ringing phone pulled her out of her thoughts of Zeke, their scheme, her feelings, and their relationship. Hello? Star, are you okay? Zeke's voice boomed with concern. For me. She gripped the phone tighter. I'm fine. Why do you ask? Her voice shook. You just don't sound right. How do you know my mood with me just saying hello? She knew, though. Zeke always picked up on her moods, always attentive to her and what she was doing, thinking, feeling. He knew her better than she knew herself. I don't know. You just don't sound like your happy self, he chuckled. Of course I'm not okay. You go to who knows where today, and you're supposed to be my boyfriend. She knew her statement deflected her newfound realization, but fighting seemed easier than confronting the feelings. I told you I was busy. I'm busy every Saturday. You know this. But she didn't really know he was busy every Saturday. She worked every weekend since her sister's accident. His mother's death followed close behind, and they leaned on each other to help get over the emotional upheaval they both experienced. The difference being that Zeke opened himself to everyone, trying to save them all, while she spent her energy feeling sorry for herself and doing everything in her power to escape her pain. I know we should have gone out today and be seen in public, but I had other commitments. How about we meet at church tomorrow, and we'll talk then? She bit her lower lip. The thought of talking to Zeke left her stomach knotted, and going to church didn't appeal to her either. Sure, great. I gotta go. See you tomorrow. She hung up before he could say anything else. Rolling down the windows, she turned up the radio. Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who played on the radio. She allowed the rock music to wash over her as she ventured home and back into the drama that someone dubbed her life. And that was chapter 6. So, sorry for the pause there. As an author, you catch your mistakes, and I realized we reused words more than I would have liked. The goal and a little lesson for any budding authors is to try and use different variations of the same words so that it gives the writing more flavor. And so when you repeat the same thing over and over again, it gives it a more dull, lulling effect. And I thought we caught it all, but apparently we didn't. So there was some things that got missed, and it makes me sad. But hopefully it's still enjoyable, and I look forward to reading the next chapter. Bye.